Hi and welcome to this short video lesson on the use of articles. These are the words a, an or the, of course. For many students, particularly those whose native language doesn't have the definite or the indefinite article, using them correctly can be a bit of a challenge. The good news is, in terms of general communication, using them incorrectly won't often lead to you being misunderstood. Take this student for example. The examiner wouldn't have any problem understanding where she comes from. But of course, if you're aiming for a high grade in your speaking exam, you'll want to show your proficiency in English. And of course, that includes your use of articles. So in this lesson, we'll look at the main reasons for using them. Articles are a big area and we won't have time to cover each and every usage. But we'll certainly deal with the main reasons for using or for not using them. So let's start by finding out what you know already. If you use the IELTS speaking website, that's ieltsspeaking.co.uk, you'll probably know about our online practice tests that students can record themselves doing. Now these 6 statements were taken from recordings of students who tried one of the tests on the subject of accommodation. Each of the statements has a mistake in the use of articles. Perhaps there's an article missing or one has been used but incorrectly. As you know, articles are used or not used before nouns. So to make life easier, here are all the nouns or adjectives plus nouns highlighted. How many mistakes in the use of articles can you see? Stop the video now and start it again when you've found them all. Okay, before we go through each of the sentences, let's try understanding one of the main reasons for using them. We use articles before singular countable nouns. So if you can add an S to the end of the noun to make it plural, the chances are it's a countable noun. By the way, articles are one example of what are called determiners. And it's not only articles that are used in this way. You might also find different determiners before the noun, such as my, your, or this and that. Anyway, so here we have 3 examples. Book, apartment and exam are all singular countable nouns, and so they're preceded by an article. In the first 2 examples, we use the indefinite article, or a, so a good book and an apartment. The third example, we can use an or the, and we'll look at when to use the definite or the indefinite article in a minute. Now, when don't we use articles? Well, we don't use them with plural or uncountable nouns with a general meaning. Now, the important word here is general. If the noun just has a very general meaning, we don't use the article. So, our house is full of books. There are 2 nouns here. House is preceded by the determiner our, but there's nothing before books. Now that's because we're talking about books in general. Again, in this statement, there's nothing before English, because we're talking about English in general. But we do use articles before plural or uncountable nouns if the noun has a specific meaning. So what do we mean by specific? Well, look at this example. The first reference to books is general, the same as before, so there's no article. But the second reference is to books in my bedroom. We're talking about particular books here, the books in my bedroom. So it's definite, it's specific, and we use the. And in this example, we're talking about a particular form of English, the English people use in America. So again, we use the definite article, the. Now another kind of specific meaning is when the noun has been mentioned before, so we know which thing the person is talking about. Here's the kind of example you'll often find in grammar books. We don't know about the dog when it's first mentioned. It's indefinite, so we use a because it's a singular countable noun. But once we know the speaker has a dog, we know which dog they're referring to later. So the dog becomes specific or definite, and we use the definite article, the dog. Okay, so using these guidelines, let's look through these 6 statements again. Let's take the first one. Now there are 3 nouns, and the mistake here is that there's a missing article before reason. And why is this? Well, because it's a singular countable noun, so it needs an article, and it also has a specific meaning, because it's a specific reason. The speaker doesn't put anything on the ground floor because of flooding. So that's a specific reason, because of flooding. So it should be the reason. The ground floor is correct because we're referring to a specific floor, the ground floor. And finally, there's no article before flooding because it has a general meaning. Now in this statement there are 2 nouns and 1 mistake. Access is an uncountable noun. It doesn't have a specific meaning here, so there shouldn't be an article. A sports centre is fine, as this is a singular, uncountable noun, mentioned for the first time. Now there are 2 nouns here. The first, children, is preceded by the determiner our. So that's okay. We're missing the definite article though before country. This is because we're talking about a particular lifestyle, the country lifestyle. Right, now in this statement we have 2 nouns. Accommodation is uncountable and it has a general meaning, so there shouldn't be an article. City is preceded by my, so that's fine. So just 1 mistake there. Now there's 2 nouns here, both village, with an article missing in both cases, so 2 mistakes. The first use of village should be preceded by a or a, because it's indefinite. We haven't been introduced to this village before. However, the second mention of village is by now definite or specific, because we know we're talking about the village that was mentioned previously. So it's definite, it's specific, so we need to use the village. Finally, there are 2 nouns here. The second one, apartment, is a single countable noun with a general meaning, so we use an. And so this one's correct. But we always use the definite article the with a superlative structure like the biggest or the smallest. And if you think about it, this fits with what we said earlier. If something is the biggest or the smallest, it's not general, it's specific, as there's only one. So we need to say the best place to live. Okay, that's the end of this very general look at articles. We'll soon be publishing a second lesson looking at some of the more unique uses of articles. And before I go, if you're preparing for Cambridge FCE, CAE or CPE, don't forget to visit Flo-Joe, our website for Cambridge exams. IELTS students should head over to ieltsspeaking.co.uk for lots of free materials to help you prepare for the speaking paper. And finally, for general speaking practice, visit splendidspeaking.com. Speaking skills for advanced learners of English.